Alrighty guys, today we're going to be talking about the Tops ATAX designed by Ron Hood. And I have number 178 of the ATAX, and I'm pretty proud of that. No idea why, but I'm proud of it. Alright, let's jump right into this review. A really neat thing about this knife is its multi-use functions. It's not just a knife, it's an axe. It's a wrench. It's a rangefinder. It's a compass. It's also a timepiece. You can use this little section as a sundial. And you can also use it to measure the incline of a slope, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Another thing too is it's a level. So you can put water in this little bowl over here, and long as the little drop of water stays in the center, then you know that your ATAX is level. And that comes in handy when using the compass feature or the time feature. So another really cool little function on that. That's also a little bevel for the fire drill or fire bow drill right there. Cool. Alright, now to the back of the knife. You've got a hammer surface here, which I'm not really going to get into, to move this around there, because everybody pretty much knows what a hammer does, and if you don't know what a hammer does, then you should probably shut your computer off and open up a book or something. But anyways, here we go. There's a wire breaker here, and essentially what you do is you're supposed to get barbed wire, throw it in this hole, and then rock it back and forth, and eventually it'll break. Haven't used it, haven't found a need to use it, but it might come up in a survival scenario where you need to break not water, silly me, I'm just getting over a cold, so my head's a little loopy today, where you need to break wire, not water. Although that'd be interesting to see. Alright, the handles are made of micarta, very comfy by the way. I really like Tops micarta work, I'm a big fan of it. And if you take these screws off right here and right there, it reveals a little compartment, and in mine I have a ferrocene rod and I have steel wire. The steel wire that I have is used for snares. Obviously you can use it as a snare wire, but it's used primarily so that you can attach the ATAX onto a stick. The stick would come in here, you split the stick on the top, and it would ride over this section. Use the steel wire to wrap around so that the ATAX or the head of your axe doesn't go flying off when you swing it. And if it flies off, it could hit you or a buddy, knock them out, or split their head open or something, and that would be a bad day. So when you're using this as an axe, make sure it is lashed down tight. Ron Hood actually mentions a couple different methods besides your standard 550 cord. You can use, like I do in my kit, steel wire. That seems to work pretty okay. He also mentioned zip ties. You can get some really heavy automotive zip ties, throw them in there, and that seems to work okay for Ron. I haven't used that though. Let's see. And these are the lashing points. You can use 550 cord, the steel, the automotive zip ties, whatever you want on here. And the multi-function and multi-use does not stop there. You have right here, this point on the ATAX is designed for splitting. You can split wood, or Ron in his video, he actually splits the head of a cow or something like that on there, or chupacabra or something like that, I don't know. He kills something with it. But anyways, it's the blade goes at a downward angle, so that the main impact force from a downward swing comes in at that point, and it works great to stick into a log when you don't want to hold it, or split some wood, something like that. I've used it a couple times and it works phenomenal. So that's one blade. Then you have your main cutting surface, your main cutting blade, or the main axe blade surface. This is where you're going to do most of your cutting where you're going to do all your standard making tent poles, feather sticking, that kind of stuff is all going to be done with this blade. Then you have a swooping blade up top, which is called an ulu blade. The ulu blade is really designed for scraping. So you can use this to scrape or as a secondary blade. So if your main standard blade goes dull, you have a secondary blade that's still going to be razor sharp. And speaking of razor sharpness, this knife came extremely sharp from the factory. Tops is a little bit hit and miss. I've got a couple knives from Tops, and two of them I got were extremely razor sharp, this being one of them. And another one was sharp, but it needed a little bit of work, so I had to sharpen it up myself. Then I got the back bite, and it was like a butter knife. So, a little bit hit and miss with their sharpness. Tops does claim that they use strops on all their blades, but who knows? But I come in with the expectation that I'm going to sharpen a knife when I buy it. I don't expect it to be razor sharp because, whatever. They're making tons of them. Let's see. So on this guy, it's really funny, and if the ergonomics are a little bit crazy when you first look at the ATAX, but once you actually hold it in your hands, it's really interesting. So you have your standard hold like this, and that's pretty cool. You can do a lot of scraping with it, forward motions, and I've used that to get the bark off of branches, to make tent pegs, stuff like that. And then you have your axe grip, which is like this, where you can use the leverage and the weight of the ATAX itself as a small hatchet. And that works really well for chopping, and I've used that a couple times, and it's pretty cool. But let's say you want to get into some fine detail work. You can grab the ATAX like this. Kind of cool. It's just really your mind is the limit on how you can hold this thing and how you can actually interact with the world with this. It's pretty cool. You want to use a secondary edge, you can do scooping, scraping with the ulu blade like this. So, yeah. It is carbon steel, so it is susceptible to rust. And by the way, that little thing right there, that's not rust, that's sap from a tree that I was cutting and some limb. So I do take care of my knives, kinda. So just sap, not rust. So let's see. Okay, yeah, I did want to talk about this. This little thing is for the fire bow bezel, so you don't have to make one. All right, now let's go over the sheath. There we go. That's the sheath. The sheath is made of Kydex, and it's very well done. Huge fan of the sheath. Really nice. It fits into it solid. It's A+ winner in my book. These little holes, these little nips up here, those are so you can attach it for a left-handed person, and it comes from the factory attached for a right-handed person. So I am right-handed, so no need to change it for myself, but if you are left-handed, they are not handist. So there you go. Here's the other side. You've got your Hood's Woods logo, your Tops logo, and this thing's made in America. I picked mine up for about $137 online. It seems that the actual inventory level kind of fluctuates. Sometimes Tops will spit a bunch of them out, a couple of them out, and then they'll stop for a while and everyone will be out of stock. I ended up picking this one up in a drought, which I called because I couldn't find them anywhere else. I had to go on eBay and found one little shop in, I think it was New York, that had it, and ended up buying it from them, shipped it, no problems. So all in all, I think the ATAX is a great multi-tool for wilderness or survival. It is not, in my opinion, a primary knife. Just throwing it out there. I don't think it's a primary knife. It is definitely something that I would carry to augment or increase my survivability. I would have this because it functions in so many different ways, and once you learn the functions and actually how to use things like the compass, the sundial, this would be a really good last ditch knife, or something you can just strap on you for, a hike, and for a day hike, or if you're going to step away from camp for a little bit. This would be a really good knife just to have on you, because if anything goes south, you still have a ton of features to call upon. But it's just awkward, a little bit awkward compared to a standard knife. I would still carry a knife, but would have this as a secondary blade. So I really think it's a winner. And a lot of places are silly, especially I've heard of in California, where park rangers and the Forestry Service or personnel actually get upset when you go hiking with big knives or something like that. And this does not fit the profile of a standard knife, so it might be a perfect choice if you're going to be a heavily populated area and you don't want to alarm anybody. It looks like a big giant two-way or something on your hip. So, just something to think about, concept, food for thought. I think it's a winner in my book. I really like it. I've had a lot of fun playing with it since I've had it. And thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Oh, one more thing I forgot to say. It does lend itself pretty well for splitting. I did split some pretty big limbs with it, and it's not like for batoning purposes. You can either use the hammerhead, or you can actually use the back of the handle for splitting, and it's not, it's not awkward to use in that sense. So this is actually a really good tool for splitting and batoning. Just wanted to say that. Okay, now, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.